Children murdered by starvation, bullets, and poison gas. What could drive men to commit such atrocities against their fellow human beings?
A resposta é a pseudociência chamada eugenia, criada e promovida por psiquiatras décadas antes dos nazis chegarem ao poder.
The eugenics movement got started in 1883 with Francis Galton, and he felt that human beings should take evolution in their own hands, and that the most talented individuals, the most healthy individuals, the most attractive individuals should have more offspring.
There was great concern that people that they considered had poor genes were reproducing faster than the people they considered had good genes.
They felt that a medical solution might be the proper one. This is what led to the sterilization movement.
It resulted in sterilization of mentally ill people, sterilization of retarded people, sterilization of people we don't like politically and sociologically. So the problem is not with genetics. The problem is a pretend phony genetics used to justify inhumane social policies.
Embora nunca se provasse ser mais do que uma teoria, no início do século XX a eugenia espalhara-se a quase 30 países. Desde a Inglaterra ao Brasil, México, Suécia, Rússia e em particular aos Estados Unidos, onde a esterilização forçada era amplamente praticada.
Eugenics movement in Germany was somewhat different than the eugenics movement in the United States in that there were many more physicians and psychiatrists. Alfred Plutz was one of the pioneers in the German eugenics movement and how to control the population of those whom he considered inferior. In 1905, along with his brother-in-law, Ernst Ruden, he established the first organization for racial hygiene.
Alle Nationen haben sich mit einer außergewöhnlich großen Menge an minderwertigen, schwachen, kranken und Verkrüppelten abzugeben. Durch kluge Gesetze über Sterilisation würden wir auch in der Lage sein, den vernünftigsten Weg der Zeugung herbeizuführen.
Hitler admirava particularmente o eugenista americano Madison Grant. Hitler proclamou que o livro de Grant, O Fim da Grande Raça, era a sua bíblia pessoal. No seu próprio livro, A Minha Luta, Hitler aclamou a eugenia como a ciência que reconstruiria a Alemanha.
Körperlich oder geistig gesund ist, dem ist es nicht erlaubt, seine Krankheit an seine Kinder weiterzugeben. Das Recht auf persönliche Freiheit wird durch seine Pflicht, die Rasse zu beschützen, eingeschränkt.
The German eugenicists welcomed the Nazi advent to power because the Nazi program could fund the very programs that they had in mind. The Nazis gave them political support, financial support, and conversely, the psychiatrists gave the Nazis a medical justification for their genocidal policies.
Something like 40% of German psychiatrists had joined the SS by 1933. They weren't forced into the SS, they just joined it naturally, because the beliefs were very, very similar.
Ruden and his work led directly to the decision to move from sterilization to murder.
O seu plano era simples. Primeiro, convencer o público que os indesejáveis débeis mentais queriam escapar ao fardo da sua existência, mas não podiam expressá-lo, e que matá-los era um ato de piedade. Depois, alargar a definição de inferior para incluir as testemunhas de Jeová, judeus, ciganos, homossexuais, todos indignos de viver. Os psiquiatras produziram filmes de propaganda conhecidos como filmes de matança nazi, projetados nos 5.300 cinemas da Alemanha.
Geisteskrankheit ist als ein Erdübel eine der größten Gefahren für die Volksgesundheit. Irrtum ist, dass sich solche Kranken glücklich fühlen und am Leben hängen. Sie haben überhaupt kein Daseinsbewusstsein. Wer von ihr befallen wird, dem ist die schwerste Last des Schicksals auferlegt. Ein Dasein ohne Leben.
It first started with passive violence, which is starvation, It then intensified to lethal injections, and finally it developed into systematic gassing and cremation.
A sua sede foi estabelecida em Berlim com o infame nome de código T4.
T4 program was named after Tiergarten 4, which essentially resulted over a period of time in the murder of about 70,000 people who were deemed mentally retarded, emotionally distraught, or physically handicapped by the Germans. They were called life unworthy of living.
O assassinato foi experimentado em hospitais psiquiátricos da Alemanha e chegou depois aos campos de concentração, com os psiquiatras alemães mais importantes como executores. Paul Nietzsche, o diretor do T4, declarou:
Das Aussortieren in den Konzentrationslagern lief etwa genauso ab wie in den Nervenheilanstalten. Und mit selbigen Erfassungsbögen.
6 million Jews died in concentration camps and as a result of Nazi extermination policies. Rudin congratulated Hitler for making his, that is Rudin's, 30-year dream come true.
Depois da rendição nazi, foi realizado um Tribunal Internacional de Justiça para julgar a psiquiatria pelos seus crimes de guerra. Mas os psiquiatras americanos, temendo um golpe permanente no futuro da psiquiatria, intervieram, colocando a culpa nos quantos psiquiatras alemães.
There were some doctors who were prosecuted, but very few. Ernst Rudin returned to Switzerland at the end of the war. He did not serve any prison time.
One of the strangest things of all about the legacy of Nazi science is that some of the nastiest psychiatric eugenicists at the end of the war went back to work either in Germany or sometimes in the United States.
O que começou como um plano psiquiátrico para eliminar humanidade indesejável, espalhara-se agora pelo mundo civilizado e foi responsável pelo assassinato de 11 milhões de pessoas. Nunca levados perante a justiça, os psiquiatras, como irão ver, continuaram a promover a eugenia por todo o mundo. E hoje vemos os resultados no racismo, na miséria humana e interminável conflito social.
After World War II, a new eugenics was resurrected out of the bones and ashes of the old eugenics. The eugenics movement has been at the forefront to establish a new scientific racism that justifies oppression and exploitation and racism.
De facto, o racismo é inseparável das raízes da psiquiatria.
The entire history of psychiatry, beginning with scientific conclusions that were made in the 1830s, was an effort to prove the intellectual inferiority of African Americans.
Benjamin Rush is the father of modern psychiatry, and he is the one that gave us the term nigritude. He said that all blacks have inherited this disease, and this particular disease, it caused them to be inferior. In addition to that, it was the reason why it was very important that blacks remain segregated and separate from whites so that whites did not inherit this disease.
Ao afirmar que a negridão era uma forma de lepra, Rush justificou a segregação como uma necessidade médica e isso tornou-se um argumento para continuar a escravatura.
The fact that you have brutalized a whole group of people had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with some genetic link and that basically you were just a diseased person, so when a slave master wanted to get rid of a recalcitrant slave, they could just say, oh, well, they're suffering from this disease.
Drapetomania, that is the name of the mental disorder that was contrived by Samuel Cartwright, who said that blacks have a mental disorder if they had a desire to run away from slavery.
Running away became such a common problem that psychiatrists attempted to give that a disease. He says, but that's a cure for that. And the question was, well, what's the cure for that? Frequent whippings, frequent whippings. You'd be surprised how that disease clears up when the lash is put in place of their excuses.
Depois da escravatura ter sido abolida, o racismo psiquiátrico não só persistiu, mas intensificou-se. o American Journal of Psychiatry proclamou oficialmente que os